What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Push the Tempo podcast, episode 3. The NBA season is back, and it's been a fun first few days of it. So today we just got a few different topics we just want to discuss. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
All right, Kyle. So the first thing that we got is the OKC game with the Rockets has been postponed because somebody on the Rockets decided to get the virus. And obviously, I can't say they decided to. They must have had some situation where they got it. And because of that, multiple other players were in question. And now it's just a giant mess, and they had to postpone the game. What do you have to say for the situation, my guy, Kyle?
So this kind of was inevitable. It's happened in other sports leagues as well. You've seen with the NFL, multiple players have tested positive. I think the Denver Broncos had to play a game without an actual quarterback on their team because their whole quarterback room got the virus. So this was just a matter of time, but it happened on the second day of the NBA season, which is kind of crazy. There was obviously, and I don't want to keep talking about it because we've talked about it like twice already, but the whole James Harden situation is it's getting worse. Um, John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and another Rocket player who I don't know their name decided to go get haircuts, and that kind of led back to the COVID tracing, so they were sent home to quarantine. It's just a huge mess, and it's to be determined what the NBA is going to do, because if they don't come down with a what's the word? If they don't come down with a harsh punishment, players might not take it seriously. But what do you think?
Personally, man, I'm not too worried about this situation in particular. I'm just worried about what the implications will be in the future. Like, I really would hate to see the league have to shut down just because of this. You know what I mean? And on top of that, like you said, that whole situation with the Denver Broncos and how they had no quarterback. The NBA is not a league where you can have more than like three or four players just not being able to play because, like, unlike the NFL where they have like a 50-man roster, NBA only has a 15-man roster, and I'm not even sure if the G League is active. So if one player gets it, it's gonna put half the team at risk, and because of that, it's just gonna shut down the whole game. And the last thing I want to see as a fan is games getting shut down left and right, and then postponed, and the whole it's just gonna cause a whole mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I just feel like with that in mind, if players do break protocol and don't follow the guidelines that the NBA has set out, they're gonna have to. I don't want to say punish them severely, but severely enough for like these guys to take the rules seriously, because you got to remember that they're the top, not only athletes, but they're like the elite in society. Like they make a shit ton of money. So, like, you know what I mean? Fines, like minuscule fines. Like for example, James Harden got fined 50K. Like to him, that's nothing. The man's on like a $40 million a year contract. So that's like mere. I don't want to say pennies, but like that's chump change to him. So I feel like they gotta really come down with harsh penalties to make sure these guys take these protocols seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree. One thing that they got to be cautious with is, all right, for example, like that penalty is nice and all right, but like one thing that would be really good is if they were to like make it so if that player had missed a game, they could possibly get suspended without pay, and that would be a really good thing because, obviously a player wouldn't want to miss a game, but missing a paycheck and an opportunity at a paycheck and play, that's going to be a lot more detrimental to a player, and it's going to be more of a deterrent to kind of go out and do reckless things. And I think that would be a good punishment. But yeah, they don't have a bubble this year, so it's definitely something that's probably going to keep on repeating.
Did you see the whole James Harden Instagram post that he posted on his Instagram story? It's
I
pretty
actually
funny.
didn't. I actually didn't check it out, to be honest.
So it was after the whole report came out that James Harden had like flaunted COVID regulations that the NBA had, and that he had tested positive during the summer. He posted on his story, it's something along the line of after another. I went to a function that one of my friends had at her event, because, and in quotations he said, not a strip club, because she's becoming a boss and putting her people in position of success, and now it's a problem. Every day different. No matter how many times people try to drag my name under, you can't. The real always end up on top. It's like, yeah, every day it is something different, because every day you decide to do some other dumb shit. You know what I mean? It's not like and Adam Silver is gonna be like, oh, you were attending your homegirl's event because she's becoming a boss. Oh man, why didn't you just say so? That's not a problem. You can go ahead and do whatever you want. Like, no, dude, you gotta follow the rules. that the NBA set out, and it's really tone deaf that he's, you know what I mean, not taking it seriously in a time where it's affecting a lot of people, like a lot of normal people who watch the games. You know what I mean? It's just, it's in my opinion, it's really tone deaf.
Yeah, no, totally, man. It's just one of those things that, in a fan's perspective, it's out of their control. I mean, really the only person that can really do something is like Adam Silver and obviously the players. So at this point, we're just kind of we're gonna have to be on the sidelines just watching as we always have been. But we can't really do anything about the situation, which just sucks. But it is definitely something that's kind of funny at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so let's move on then. We're just gonna discuss a couple games that have happened in the last 2 days. So let's start off with the Celtics and Bucks game. I know you're a Celtics fan, so why don't you give me your opinion on this game?
Man, so we're gonna look at the Celtics and Bucks game, and one thing that was super interesting to me as a Celtics fan is the Celtics play with so much pace as compared to before. Usually their games consist of a lot of defense on both sides of their teams, and this time they ended up with 122 points. And it's kind of crazy because most games for the Celtics end around 100. This one was really significant and stood out to me just because they were playing a good defensive team in the Bucks. So that showed me that the Celtics were playing with a lot more pace. And the thing to me that was the best thing that I saw as a fan was that the Celtics did not start chucking up threes at the end of the game in a close game. And that's something that they've been doing for the past few years. And this time they played in their game. They played the same game that they played in the beginning, and they finished it out strong. They finished with that Jaylen Brown layup. And then, I mean, I don't who's to say if it was luck or not, but Tatum hit a bank shot three to win the game. But I was really happy that my team didn't just start chucking up threes when they were down, because that's something that they always used to do. I mean, if you look at that Miami Heat series in the playoffs, they did that, and that's kind of the reason why they used to like blow leads and stuff like that. So pretty happy as a Celtics fan. What do you think about that game?
Yeah, no. Talking about the pace aspect that you were mentioning, that's for sure true because in the first 3 quarters, Boston had 3 straight quarters scoring 30 plus. Obviously, Tatum was awesome. Um, Jaylen Brown had a great game as well. The Bucks, though, one thing that can't be lost is that they started coming back in that fourth quarter, and I know people are bagging on Giannis for missing that free throw, and even I even texted you. I said, "Hey, Giannis is not going to hit both these free throws," and lo and behold, he missed one. But it can't be understated. He was great in that fourth quarter. Outside of that, he had 18 points, 7 of 10, 2 of 4 from three, which is, I mean, we all know he's not a shooter, but that's still great for him. But yeah, Tatum hit that huge game that I shouldn't say game winning, but it was lead taking shot with zero point 0.4 seconds left. That was a great game, like for sure. And obviously, it's the first game of the season, so you can't really tell much. But it was a phenomenal game.
Yeah, just piggybacking off that, it definitely was a phenomenal game. All right, one last thing on the Celtics before we move to the next game. Man, I was low-key a little disappointed, but at the same time, pretty happy because my favorite player, as most of you guys know, is Marcus Smart. He only took 3 shots, and I'm gonna be honest, that hurts me because I like to see success in my favorite players. But you know what? At the end of the day, Marcus Smart is known for his winning plays and things he does on defense. So maybe this is the formula for Boston, the new formula that's gonna help them win more games. If Smart just takes a couple of less shots, sacrifices for the team. I mean, he was great on the defensive end. He got 3 charges drawn on Giannis. So yeah, pretty happy with that. We'll see how this new formula works. But yeah, do you want to move on to the next game?
Yeah, for sure. The next game let's talk about is the Lakers and the Clippers game. What do you want? What do you got to say about this one?
All right. First thing I'm gonna say is, bro, I told you, man. Last podcast, I was telling you, bro. The Clippers, bro, they different this year, bro. Paul George is different. MVP, bro. I'm telling you, bro. I've been saying that. I've been saying that, man. What do you have to say?
Yeah, no, you were definitely. I want to. I'm just gonna push back on the MVP thing. It's only been one game, so it's gonna be. We got to see it play out the entire season. But I'm very happy that I was wrong from the last pod when I said that the Lakers would take the W. That being said, I don't really think LeBron was trying in this game. Very few times he really put the Jets on and just went to the rim. He didn't do that a lot. But one thing that there's two things actually. For the Clippers is that I don't think it can be understated that now they have 48 minutes, an entire game of rim protection with Serge Ibaka and Ivica Zubac playing. Last year that was not the case with Montrezl Harrell playing 30 to 32 minutes a game. That was a big problem for them. Excuse me. And one thing for the Lakers that I will say is their center rotation might be a problem. It's one game, so we can't really make a huge assumption, and I don't mean to. but we all know Montrezl Harrell is a mess defensively. Uh, he can't really guard anybody. He got pushed around a few times. Kawhi legit pushed him out of the way one time in that first quarter. Um, and Ivica Zubac dunked on him once, which was pretty cool to see. Marcus Gasol did struggle a little bit. He did pick up 5 fouls in that game, and I don't think he played after that. I might be wrong. But one thing and another thing that I really liked about this game is Ty Lue. One thing I harped on Doc Rivers a lot for during the course of the playoffs and during last year's his lack of adjustments. Ty Lue made adjustments throughout this game. He put in Reggie Jackson in that second quarter. Reggie Jackson played all but 3 minutes. I'm sorry, he played only 3 minutes in this game. And honestly, I spent more time hating on Reggie Jackson on Twitter than he played in this game. He was awful, and Ty Lue pulled him and didn't play him again. So again, I'm very happy with that win. It could have gone a lot worse. So I'm content with that W for sure.
I've been telling you, man, this Clippers team is different, bro. And yo,
I
on
hope
the
so.
low, on the low, man, I feel like all right, Kennard didn't really have that good of a game, but I feel like the way he can play, and a way we all know that he can play, I feel like he's gonna have a pretty good role on this team. Well, it remains to be seen, but I can definitely see him being a lot better and a better fit to make this Clippers team a little bit better.
Yeah, Kennard was. I mean, we all know he's not a good defender. He just, in my opinion, I think he played a little passively in that game. He wasn't really looking to create. I guess he just wasn't trying to step on other people's toes, you could say. Um, I haven't been saying that we should trade Lou Williams, but I've said that if we can find a defensive forward, that would be solid. And if we had to, we get rid of Lou. Bro, I don't want to say that now. Lou was awesome in that game, but yeah, that's about all I got to say. You want to move on to the next game, I should say.
Yeah, yeah, let's go for it.
All right, let's talk about Warriors Nets. I got a few opinions on it, but I'll let you go first. What do you think?
I mean, I just want to say one other thing, man. For last podcast, man, I'm 2 for 2, so I just got to put it out there. I had a feeling the Warriors are going to struggle against the Nets, and not that the Warriors are necessarily a bad team, but I mean they definitely lack a lot of depth now. You can tell it's pretty obvious now. But yeah, the Nets like KD, Kyrie, Karis LeVert was really good. I mean, it was a pretty obvious that, to me at least, that the Nets were going to win. I don't really have much to say about this. What do you have to say?
No, I'm 1 for 2. I said the Clippers would lose, and I said the Nets would win. I was right about one of those two. One thing that definitely jumped out to me from Brooklyn's side is that even though they have a lot of players who can create their own shot, not only for themselves but can create for others, the ball movement really stuck out to me. They were moving the ball well. They had 24 assists, which is pretty good, all things considered. They One thing the Warriors, I said this even I've been talking about this with some friends, is that this year they have to be a team that pushes the pace in games. They have to play in transition, because if they get stuck into half court, they'll struggle because they don't really have a lot of guys who can space the floor. So when that's the case, Steph is going to see multiple bodies, and he's gonna be attracting a lot of the attention, which is what happened in this game. And I'm not going to say Steph had a bad game because it's only the first game, but he did struggle shooting from the field and from the 3-point range. Andrew Wiggins was awful in this game. Kelly Oubre didn't have his best showing either. I definitely think Kelly Oubre will be better, and those guys have to pick it up if they want to have a chance to make the playoffs in this very tough Western Conference.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, man. Andrew Wiggins had a pretty bad game, and honestly, like, no, this happens every single season. You see some like off-season workout of him going like, working out super hard and going beast mode, and he does the same shit every single year. So there's that. I mean, Kelly Oubre is a dude that I really like as a player. He has that energy and it's pretty contagious. So I mean, he's not really the best player, but his energy is definitely contagious, and he can play defense pretty decently. And I know we'll have to see if he makes any improvements this year. One dude that I was pretty surprised about was James Wiseman. He honestly wasn't that bad at all. I mean, he put up like 19 points. He was rebounding the ball. He was moving. He did make some rookie mistakes, but it's a rookie at the end of the day. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Warriors. But they, like you said, they definitely need to work out some of their issues.
All right, last game we are going to talk about then. Let's talk about the Jazz and the Blazers. So in this game, do you want to take it away, or do you want me to go ahead?
Oh, you can go for it.
All right, word. In this game, we saw Rudy Gobert have a pretty great game, and other players such as Donovan Mitchell chipped in as well. So I know you were kind of down on Utah coming into this year. I
Yeah.
thought that they would be a playoff team coming into the year, and I still think they will be. One guy who I think is very underrated for them is Bojan Bogdanovic. You got to remember that he was missing last year in the bubble and he didn't play, and that was and he was, I believe he was their second or third leading scorer during the regular season. He's very underrated. I was trying to get him in fantasy. Unfortunately, he was taken right before I could have taken him. He struggled shooting from the field, but I mean his percentages are going to go up. Everybody really struggled shooting from the field for the Jazz, besides Jordan Clarkson and Rudy Gobert. But I think, and this is not something that I'm saying only because it's the first game, but I've thought this for a while now that there's a ceiling for the Blazers if their two best players are Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. They're both shorter guards that can get swallowed up in the by lengthy defenders in the come playoff time, and we've seen it happen before. So that's just my opinion. I just want to know what you think about this game.
So like you said, I had Utah not making the playoffs. The reason for that was because I thought their competition would got a lot better. I mean, they didn't really add anyone this offseason besides who did they add? Like
Derek
freaking
Favors,
Derek Favors, who isn't a
Shaq
bad player.
Harrison.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like how many minutes are they gonna get realistically? Like I'm pretty sure Shaq Harrison played like 2 minutes. So, but hypothetically, I don't see this team making the playoff just because their competition got a lot better. Um, one thing that I want to say about the Blazers is I feel like their team got a lot better, and Damian Lillard did not perform in this game. It remains to be seen if it's because of his injury from that he sustained in the playoffs, or if it's just because like he's a little rusty. But whatever the reason is, I don't see this Blazers team being that bad all the time. They they definitely do have a ceiling with Lillard and CJ being their best players offensively. I feel like Robert Covington didn't have that much of an impact. He's definitely known as an impact player and one that's not really a statistical player. So I hope that eventually that fit will be a lot better, especially with Carmelo coming off the bench. I think that was a great move to slide Covington in there to kind of complement CJ and Lillard, but we'll definitely have to see.
I just want to say one thing. Damian Lillard scored 9 points in this game. That's cool. He had a bad game. It's not going to happen a lot. I just want to say that Paul George had 7 points in the first half of the game versus the Lakers, and he was getting he was getting shade thrown at him left and right. Could you imagine if Paul George had scored 9 points in that game and the Clippers had got blown out by 20? Could you imagine how bad that would have been? Um,
Mm, the
I
Twitter
just want,
slander, bro.
yeah, it would have been crazy. The pandemic P, playoff P, PG 13%. Those, those names and the slander would just be going crazy. But no, I agree. See, I have the Blazers making the playoffs comfortably. I'd say they'd either finish realistically somewhere from 3 to 5, but I don't think they got significantly better. Sure, they added Robert Covington, who's an impact player defensively. He's not a great individual defender. He's more of a great team defender. They added Derek Jones Jr., who's a rangy defensive athlete. He's not a great 3-point shooter. So in their starting lineup, they have Covington, who's a streaky shooter. Yusuf Nurkic, who can't shoot. Derek Jones, who's not a good shooter, and they have CJ and Dame, who are both good shooters. So it's gonna be weird. And their bench, they have Gary Trent, who I think is pretty good. I think he can have a good impact, particularly offensively, with his ability to shoot. Enes Kanter, he's good offensively, can't defend anybody. Carmelo Anthony is like 100 years old. He can't defend anybody. He can hit a shot. And Rodney Hood, you know what I mean? Rodney Hood coming off an Achilles, it remains to be seen how much of an impact he can have. And Harry Giles, I don't know much about Harry Giles. I know that he at one point was the number one high school recruit in his class, and he suffered with injuries. So he struggled with some knee issues. So it remains to be seen what he can do. And it's obviously one game, and I don't want to make any crazy assumptions off this one game, but they definitely have to play better to compete in this tough West. But I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. All the things that you mentioned, I agree with for the most part. With that, do you want to move on to the predictions for Christmas Day games?
Yeah. So let me just read off the lineup of the games that are going to occur. It's going to be the Nets and the Celtics are going to be playing, which is cool. Pelicans and the Heat. I would have rather seen the Suns play. The Warriors and the Bucks. The Mavs and the Lakers, and then the Clippers and the Nuggets. Which game you want to start off with?
Um, let's go with the game that starts first. So that would be the Pelicans game with the Heat, right?
Yep.
All right. Honestly, the Pelicans surprised me with the win over Toronto. For the most part, I think it was just because Fred VanVleet had a bad shooting night. Zion is definitely a great player, though. I
Zion.
feel like I like calling him Zion because, like, I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to check that out. My bad. But yeah, dude, he's like a 20 and 10 player. Like, he's very capable of doing that. And you know, the Pelicans, I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs, but I mean they played great that first game. So I'm just gonna say for my prediction, they're gonna keep this continuity up and they're gonna get another win. What do you think?
Yeah, no. Also, Brandon Ingram was awesome in that game. He had 24, 9, and 11 assists. He was one assist shy. I'm one rebound, sorry, shy of a triple double. He was awesome in that game. Um, yeah, I think. Ah, man, this is just such a hard game to predict. I'm gonna lean the opposite way just for the sake of argument. I'm gonna say Miami takes this one. Bam Adebayo is a pretty great defender. I think he'll have a great game. Um, defending Zion and who do that? Who are the Pelican centers? I'm drawing a blank here. Sorry.
Steven Adams,
Yeah,
Jackson Hayes.
yeah. Steven Adams and Jackson Hayes. I really don't have much of an opinion on this game because I don't follow Miami and New Orleans um, that as intently as other teams. But just for the sake of argument, I'm going to give this one to the Heat.
Hmm. All right, that's fair. That's fair. So at least we got a difference here. So remember, I'm the prediction king, so should be placing bets on my teams. All right, so we'll go into the next one. So at 2:30, it's going to be the Warriors versus the Bucks.
I think both of us are probably going to have the same prediction. It's going to be the Bucks.
Yeah, hands down.
The the Warriors, they're gonna obviously have to look to change up a few things. Andrew Wiggins is obviously gonna have to be better than he was in that first game. Kelly Oubre, I think Kelly Oubre will be better, but the Bucks have some lengthy defenders on their team that can, make life difficult for Steph. They can throw Drew Holiday at him. Dante DiVincenzo can play a little bit at him. Pat Connaughton, he might not be the greatest defender, but he's athletic, so that counts for something. So, but I think the Bucks are gonna take this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't even think it's going to be the Bucks defending the Warriors well. I just think that no one's going to be able to stop Middleton and Giannis at the same time.
Yep.
So I think that's what is going to cause the Warriors to lose the game. I feel like the Bucks are going to drop like 130 on the Warriors,
It remains to
especially
be
because
seen as well if Draymond Green is going to play in that game because he didn't
I
play in
completely
game
forgot
one.
about him. I
Yeah,
completely forgot about him. He's been so irrelevant the past year.
yeah. It's you hate to see it. Draymond's really fallen off in the last year or two, but hey,
Yeah,
yeah, I think this one's going to go to the Bucks. The
yeah,
next
for sure.
game that is going to be at 5 p.m. is going to be the Nets and the Celtics. This one is a lot more difficult to predict, in my opinion. But since you're the Celtics fan, I'll let you lead off with this one.
Well, this is tough because if we watch that preseason game, and remember it is preseason, so it doesn't really mean anything. And of course, like Brad Stevens is a dude that likes to do random shit and games that don't count, like the preseason or the games at the end of the year. So he likes to do random shit. So Celtics did get blown out in that preseason game. Man, this is tough. Honestly, man, I'm gonna use my biasness here and say the Celtics are gonna win. I mean, they're coming off a great win. So are the Nets, but I feel like the Celtics can get continuity here. Another thing is this is the first time that Kyrie's playing the Celtics ever since he left Boston. So hopefully, as a
Is
Celtics
this
fan, I'm
game
saying
in
hopefully.
Boston or is it in Brooklyn?
I believe it's in Brooklyn. Let me check that out. It's in Boston. Yep, it's in
Oh,
Boston.
okay. So this is his first
Where
official game in Boston, like first like regular season game in Boston since he
Yep,
left.
exactly. So personally, I'm super hyped for that. Man, it's gonna be a good game. I'll tell you guys that much. I'm gonna go with the Celtics. What about you?
This one is very difficult to predict because I think both these teams are very good. Just again, for the sake of argument, I'm going to roll with the Nets. Um, they looked amazing in that first game. Um, the Warriors are not a great matchup for them. But that being said, I think again, like I said earlier, the ball movement really popped out to me. They shared the ball well with the amount of defensive, with the amount of shot creators they have. They still showed a great ability to share the ball. So, and really, it depends on what Kevin Durant looks like against better defensive players on the Celtics like Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown, who are going to be trying because in that preseason game, I really didn't think they tried much.
Hmm.
We're going to have to see him against those defensive guys. And then obviously Kyrie is going to have to be defended by a guy by Marcus Smart. So, but I'm going to roll with
The
the
goat.
Nets on this one.
For sure, for sure. All right, man. I especially hope the Celtics win now. Let's go to the next matchup. So that's going to be the Mavs versus the Lakers, and that's going to take place at 8 p.m. Eastern time. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with the Lakers for this one. Looking at the Mavericks roster, they their best matchup for Anthony Davis would probably be like Maxi Kleber or Dwight Powell with Kristaps Porzingis still being hurt. Boban, I think, is a little too slow-footed for that. They really have no answers for a guy of Anthony Davis's caliber, and they kind of don't really have an answer for a guy of LeBron's caliber as well. They're, if you look at it, they don't have a lot of size in the wing. Their only wing defender who's not like a big would be like Dorian Finney-Smith, and he's 6'7". He gives up some size and some weight to LeBron. So I'm gonna roll with the Lakers on this one. I think they'll be motivated coming off the loss to the Clippers. So I think they're gonna take this one.
Man, you made a good point because previously I thought that the Mavs were going to win. I'm at the edge of switching, but you know what? I'm gonna keep my gut feeling. I'm gonna go with the Mavs, dude. I
Hey,
feel
you
like
haven't been wrong yet.
I mean, it's been 2 games. Let's be honest. But all right, man. I'm gonna be honest though. Dennis Schroeder has been like he's been a beast, man. And my thing was I thought that if the Mavs could shut down Schroeder and limit Anthony Davis's touch, they'd be able to win. But we'll have to see. I'm gonna just go with the Mavs for this matchup, just because I believe in Luca, and I think that they have some plan or some tricks up their sleeve.
Oh, I'm sorry. They also have Cauley Stein, but I mean, he's a center, and I'm pretty sure Anthony Davis is going to be playing power forward for the most part. In that Clippers game, I think he only played like 4 minutes at center, so I think they're going to run him out there with another big. Um, One thing that I think that the Lakers do have a problem with when Montrezl, and I don't want to keep harping on this, but when Montrezl Harrell is in the game, he can't do anything but play center because he can't offer you any spacing. So Anthony Davis is still forced to play the 4 position, and on defense he can play the 5 because Montrezl Harrell can't defend anybody. So um, so they have to definitely figure out that dynamic because I think their center rotation with when Harrell is out there is going to be a mess because he can't offer you much on defense while having an inability to play any other position but the 5. But again, I'm just going to keep rolling with the Lakers for this one.
Word, word. I guess that's fair, and they are favorites too. So like, if you get this prediction right, it's nothing impressive. So it's gonna put that out there.
All right, the last game then that we are going to talk about is going to be the Clippers and the Nuggets. Who do you think is going to win this one?
All right, bro. I think it's obvious, man. I've been saying since the beginning of the season, this Clipper team is different, man. I'm telling you, and I'm not even like I personally don't even like the Clippers that much, but I'm just telling you, man. I feel like they came this season and they had their mindset like this is the year that we're gonna break that curse. We're gonna get out of the Western Conference Finals. We're gonna make it to the NBA Finals
Yeah,
and win a
to the Western
championship.
Conference Finals. We still haven't done that.
Yeah, to the Western Conference Finals.
Baby
Paul George came
steps.
off hot, man. He started off hot. Patrick Beverly, he's playing his defense. Lou Will played great. All these players are playing good. And now, if we take a look at the Nuggets, I mean, they lost a pretty decent defender in Jeremy Grant, and now Michael Porter Jr. has to become that guy. And Jamal Murray, I mean, I know you have some stuff to say about Jamal Murray just because I know we were talking about it earlier. So let me hear your thoughts. I have the Clippers winning.
Yep. See, man, I tend to be very pessimistic about my team because every time I've been optimistic, I've been let down by these guys. That being said, you make a great point about them losing Jeremy Grant, and now they have to rely on Michael Porter Jr. to fill that role of that defensive guy on the wing because there are other guys who are 6'8", 6'7", 6'9". They're more built in the center mold than the wing mold. Like for example, Paul Millsap. You wouldn't say he's a wing type player more than he is like a power forward. You know what I mean? Michael Green, same thing. He's more of a forward that can play center rather than a big man that can, guard people on the perimeter. So they're gonna need Michael Porter Jr. to really step into that role. And even last year, they did struggle to defend the Clippers in the playoffs. I'm I'm going to stay on this. That another one of my biggest problems with Doc is he would rarely put Michael Porter Jr. and Nikola Jokic in the pick and roll. He only did it like, and he probably did it more times, but I only ever saw it happen once, and it was really infuriating that he would not do that. So I'm gonna roll with the Clippers on this one. Jamal Murray, while he was awesome in the bubble and he was great, except he only had like really 3 good games against the Clippers, but nobody wants to talk about that. He was nowhere to be seen yesterday. He was 1 for 9 for 9 points in that game. He wasn't really doing much. Nikola Jokic was awesome in that game, and they only lost at the buzzer because of that Buddy Hield tip-in. But I'm a roll with the Clippers. I think they have size in the perimeter that is going to make it tough for the Nuggets to defend.
All right, word. So we got a consensus on that. The only thing I want to say, man, is if Jamal Murray gets that good bop before the game, that's the only way that, in
Yo,
my personal opinion, that they're gonna win. Oh man. So that's it, huh? That's all we got, man. Do you have anything else to say about this game, or you're pretty much good to go?
yeah, no, I do. Um, the Nuggets I think they're a great team. Jokic is a matchup nightmare for anybody, so I think he's going to be the X factor in this game. Um, he towards the end of that series, I mean, obviously, no Montrezl Harrell couldn't defend him, but Ivica Zubac really could not defend him. It was it was something crazy. I think in Game 7, he didn't even really score that much. I think he had less than 15 points, but he had like 20 rebounds and like 10 or 11 assists. Like I thought he controlled that game from start to finish. It was really something to see, and he's an absolute anomaly. But that being said, I still think the Clippers are going to take this one. I hope Paul George continues his hot shooting. I hope in this game he attacks the rim more. He only shot like 2 free throws in that last game. I hope Kawhi stops shooting so many threes. He shot 8 threes in that last game and only hit one of them. I hope he attacks the rim more. But and if they do that, I think the Clippers are going to beat the Nuggets. So
Word, word. All right, man. I think that's it for this podcast.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys for listening.